Okay, so we're meeting after several days.
Sorry.
Actually, we did discuss even the 2 times that we met in the middle separately with Pasha Didi and Prachi, and then separately with you, Manjuji. We did
Yeah.
discuss a little bit from what we had covered.
Yes.
But yeah, so we had been talking about yoga and sanyog, and also about how naturally there is this serendipity in nature in which things come together to lead in the direction of completeness, and that completeness, the ultimate completeness in existence is that human beings live harmoniously. They live harmoniously with each other and they live harmoniously with nature. So that is the ultimate completeness in existence. So serendipity is all those sorts of coming togethers and those sorts of unions that move towards that. And then earlier around this section, Baba was also talking about how it has been the contribution of a lot of people that led him to his discovery also. That allowed him to not be arrogant about what he discovered, and not be arrogant about the fact that he might be the only one who can understand something like this, because he realized that through generations of humankind coming together in such, and serendipity helping also along, it has led to this him he was basically the last um, hammer on the nail, or whatever the analogy or metaphor is. He finally, it was the last strike that he made, and इसलिए वो पत्थर टूट गया, the stone cracked. And that allows him to, and it also allows him to recognize that actually every human being shares the same nature, the same need, and therefore every human being has this seed of sadbuddhi or wisdom inside them, and it is a combination of time, their own actions, and of serendipity, all of these coming together, which will determine when and how much this seed of wisdom will sprout and bloom. So basically, this was also a conversation a bit on free will and determinism, like how much is in our hands and how much is determined. So the fact that we all have a similar makeup, that is determined. The fact that there is a set direction, that is determined. But how fast we get there and who gets there first, like, etc., all of these things are open, and they're like, that is open to our own actions and our own free will. And also with time and situations, and which are, situations are a consequence of our collective free wills, actually. And then sanyog, serendipity. So this is what we were talking about. And hey, my share screen stopped. No? Yeah, okay. So let's resume.
कर्म संयोग अपने आप में सबके लिए सद्बुद्धि की एक अंकुर को रखा ही है। वो कब कितना पल्लवित होगा, कब पुष्पित होगा, इसको हम नहीं कह सकते।
So this time, actions, and serendipity have placed the seed of wisdom in each of us, but when and how much it will bloom and flower and sprout and bloom is not something that I can determine, that I can ascertain.
इसको कहने जाएंगे अतिवाद सा होता है।
And if I try to say something about that, if I try to declare something about that, that would be an excess. That would be a bit extreme, or be overreach on my part.
सीधा सीधा बात है, हर व्यक्ति शुभ चाहता है, यह सच्चाई है। शुभ चाहने की मूल में, शुभ चाहने के शुभ घटित होने के लिए संभावनाओं को और समीचीन किया जाए, और
So it's a straightforward thing that each individual desires well-being, and for this well-being, we can simply gather the conducivity and what is it?
चाहने के शुभ घटित होने के लिए संभावनाओं को और समीचीन किया जाए, ये एक दिन वो मिलन बिंदु मिल ही जाती है.
Right. And so in order to have this well-being occur and be realized, we can simply collect these possibilities, gather these possibilities, keep gathering these possibilities. And as we do that, eventually these three of time, action, and serendipity, they come together and that well-being manifests.
ऐसा मैं गणित करता हूँ. शायद ये गणित सबको अच्छा लगे या किसी को अच्छा भी ना लगे.
So this is a kind of calculation that I do, and possibly this sort of calculation would appeal to some people, and it is possible that it might not appeal even to others.
ये भी हो सकता है. मेरे साथ सुखद घटनाएं इसी विधि से होती रही.
That is also possible. But with me, it is in this way that all these positive events have unfolded.
एक बात ये स्पष्ट करना चाहा, और संयोग जब होते हैं, दो आदमी एक जिज्ञासा के मिलते हैं, एक प्रयास के मिलते हैं.
Oh, we've done this
उसका
also. So this is the first thing I wanted to clarify, to lay out. And then the other thing, this is where we had actually reached, that there can be, that serendipity can be seen in many ways. First, the first way it is seen is that when like-minded people come together, when a union of like-minded people is seen as serendipity, but a lot of people have believed this.
नाम है संयोग. उसका कसौटी, संयोग का कसौटी, और तीसरा बनता है वो समाधान के अर्थ में हो, व्यवस्था के अर्थ में हो.
But another qualification for serendipity that we find is that it should be that it be in terms of resolution. This union be in terms of resolution, be in terms of order and systems.
इसी या अखंड समाज के अर्थ में हो, सार्वभौम व्यवस्था के अर्थ में हो, तभी संयोग की बात सार्थक हो पाता है.
So this other qualification is when this union is for order, for resolution, for unified society, for a universal order, and it is only when the union occurs in these terms that the serendipity can become realized. That serendipity can become realized. He says that that is when serendipity becomes meaningful, which means that is when it can actually be realized.
Shrishta, is it like yoga and sanjog coming together is kind of a yoga, but then
Yeah.
serendipity, but then meaningful is acha yoga, sanjog, which becomes when these people come together for greater good, or this like-mindedness is doing something good, because like-minded can be in wrong direction also, na?
So that's what he had been saying. But in this, yoga is just a union, any sort of union. But sanyog is union for completeness. So the positive sort of completeness. And that is what I'm translating as serendipity. And that has been, so when we think of sanyog or serendipity, people have thought of like-minded people coming together also as a kind of sanyog, right? As a kind of serendipitous event. But he's saying there are counter arguments to that, what if that like-mindedness is in a problematic direction? Therefore, actually serendipity is only meaningful. Matlab, you can only say that something is serendipitous when it is a union towards resolution, a union towards orderliness, a union towards unification in society, a union towards a universal order. If there is a union that is happening which is not in line with any of these, then actually it is not really serendipitous. That's what he's saying.
Like he had said earlier, no, in the right we're all together, all the same, and in like
actually it's an extension of that, because otherwise we will think we are like-minded, but actually we're not even like-minded. Like two thieves can seem like-minded, but actually they're not fully like-minded. Only in some respects would they be like-minded. Unless two individuals are both thinking of the right, they will not be like-minded to begin with. So yeah, this is an extension of that very principle.
एक ही विचार की व्यक्ति मिलने पर मैत्री होता है कहते हैं, अभी भी इस बात की प्रचलन है, किंतु उसमें काफी दूर दूर तक की कहीं कहीं छितरिया गए तो उस
This again, we've gone over this last time. He says, when like-minded people meet, there is a friendship that emerges. That is something people say, and that notion has been analyzed and deliberated to its complete extent. It has been analyzed till it has been broken down to its torn up in pieces, basically, he's saying.
उसका बहुत सारा तर्क हुआ, दो डाकू मिलने से, दो अपराधी मिलने से, दो पापी मिलने से, दो माने गलती करने वाले मिलने से.
So there's been a lot of debate and argument around this, that, what about two dacoits coming together, two thieves coming together, two sinners coming together, etc.
ये सहविचारी होते हैं, क्या ये सब ठीक होते हैं? उसका उत्तर निकला नहीं होते हैं. होना क्या चाहिए तो स्वयं खोजें, ऐसा हो.
And so when such arguments were raised, it was also asked, so should such like-minded people be coming together? Would that be a good sort of coming together? The answer was no, that's not a good sort of coming together. So then what should be the right kind of coming union? So the answer to that was, well, find it for yourself. Find the answer to that for yourself.
हो गया था, किंतु अभी क्या है, निर्देशित किया जा सकता है अखंड समाज सार्वभौम व्यवस्था के अर्थ में. हम यदि एक विचारी होते हैं, वो अनुसंधान शोध सफल हो सकता है.
But now, so at least now, we can ascertain the answer to that question, that when we are like-minded in terms of a unified society and a universal order, then that sort of research and exploration, inquiry and exploration can become meaningful. It can become realized.
एक विचारी होते हैं, वो अनुसंधान शोध सफल हो सकता है.
It can be successful.
ये मेरा कहने की मतलब है.
This is what I mean to say.
तात्पर्य ये है. इस ढंग से हर कोने से हम शुभ के केंद्र में अपने एक कोण को जोड़ने में हर मनुष्य समर्थ है.
Right. So this was my intended point, and in this way we can see that humans are capable of connecting to goodness or well-being from any angle.
इस विधि में अभी आप हमारा बीच जो एक संप्रेषणा की क्रम है वो चलेगी.
And it is in this methodology that our upcoming communication will, this is what our dialogue henceforth will deal with.
तो न्यायपूर्वक हम जीना बना तो मूल मुद्दा हमारा प्रामाणिकता की स्थली बनी अपना परिवार.
So when we become capable of living with justice, then the platform for our evidencing or the platform for our authenticity becomes our family.
परिवार में हम परिवारजनों के आंखों में हम ठीक चल रहा हूं ये आ जाता है.
Then it is in the eyes of our family members that we appear to be going in the right direction.
ये हर व्यक्ति अपने में आजमा सकता है. एक बात ये मिलती है।
This is something that each individual can try out for themselves.
उसके बाद न्यायपूर्वक चलने के बाद हमारे जितने भी मित्र परिवार है उनमें भी हम हमारा पहचान को सटीकता से दे पाता हूँ।
Then in this way, when living with justice, I am able to provide a definite identity of my own within all the other friends or friendly families. He says Mitra Parivar. It's a new sort of term, maybe. But he says basically your family has other family friends. And these are not individuals, not what we usually consider family friends as individuals, but families that are a friend of our family. So you are able to establish your identity among all, first in your own family and then in all these other family friendly families.
ये भी मेरे साथ गुजरी है। उसके बाद न्यायपूर्वक
And this is also something I have experienced.
जीना मुझसे हमारा अधिकार में हो गया, तब से जो आगंतुक आते हैं थोड़े देर के बाद उनके साथ भी हमारा पहचान हम स्थापित करने में समर्थ होता गया।
And then on living in this way with justice, I found that all the visitors or the guests who would come visiting, I became capable of establishing my identity even with them after a certain time had passed. Let me do this properly. So let me listen to it properly and translate
मेरे
it.
साथ गुजरी है। उसके बाद न्यायपूर्वक जीना मुझसे हमारा अधिकार में हो गया, तब से जो आगंतुक
So ever since then, living with justice came within my authority. And ever since that point, even when visitors would arrive,
आते हैं थोड़े देर के बाद उनके साथ भी हमारा पहचान हम स्थापित करने में समर्थ हो।
soon after their arrival, I would be capable of establishing my identity even with them. And this is establishing my identity in the sense of establishing my identity as someone who is just. Even they would be able to recognize that this is a just person that I am interacting with. So first, your family members are able to recognize you as a just individual. Then your family friends are able to recognize you as a just individual. And then even when guests come over, after spending a little bit of time with him, they would also very easily be able to recognize him as a just person.
होता गया, ये भी हुआ है। तो भले हम कम अपना पहचान को स्थापित कर पाए हों, किंतु स्थापित तो हुई।
So in this way, so the guests, I was able to establish my identity even with guests. So this has also happened with me. And however little I was able to establish my identity, that is, however few people, it was still established for sure.
उसका यही गवाही है। मैं स्वयं जहां आकर के साधना किया, शोध किया, वो जगह, वो भाषा, वहां के लोग मेरे लिए नितांत परिचित रहे।
The testimony to that is that this place where I came to do my sadhana or my meditative practice, that place, its people, its language, its culture, all of these were completely unknown to me. They were all strangers.
सबसे बड़ी बात तो ये सब पूरा परिचित, वो रहन सहन।
So this is one of the biggest facts. They were completely unknown. They were completely alien. Their customs, their way of living,
खान पान सब अपरिचित,
their food habits, all of it was alien to me.
रहते हुए मैं वहाँ रहा। वो ये वही जगह हमारे लिए ऐसा अनुभव कराया। सारे बंधु यहीं हैं, सारे आप्त यहीं हैं, यहीं आपका जो शुभ चाहने वाला यहीं है, आपका अभिभावक यहीं है, आपके मित्र यहीं हैं, आपके बंधु परिवार यहीं हैं।
But as I lived there, as I started living there, that place allowed me to I was able to experience that all brethren are here itself, all friends are here itself, all wise people are here itself, all well-wishers are here itself. And these are several terms.
सारे आप यहीं हैं, यहीं आपका जो शुभ चाहने वाला यहीं है, आपका अभिभावक यहीं है, आपके मित्र यहीं हैं, आपके बंधु परिवार यहीं हैं।
So they made me feel like that all my guardians, my well-wishers, my friends, my fellow families around, they all were here itself.
इस बात को मुझे अनुभव कराया।
This is what they allowed me to experience. मेरे को अनुभव कराया।
इसको क्या भाषा दिया जाए, पूछा जाए तो यही लगता है। तो हमारा नेक इरादा
So what language should we give to this experience? If one asks that question, then the only answer is that my नेक irada, my नेक is what? Noble, my noble decision.
Neek is well intentioned, I think.
Yeah. So, and matlab well intentioned in a social and larger sense, not just personally. That's why I think noble. Irada is decision. So the only answer is my noble decision. And I think there's a cut here. I wonder how we
Mr.
come
I would say irada is intention, na? Like क्या इरादा है तुम्हारा, क्या करने का इरादा है? Think of it. Don't you think?
हाँ,
Decision
actually,
क्या decide किया, हिंदी में क्या बोलेंगे पता नहीं.
निर्णय. पर
निर्णय.
ये तो उर्दू हुआ.
And
Let's
इरादा
see.
किसने? You know,
Let's,
when
I've only used it ऐसे ही. हाँ, desire, intention, yeah. Yeah, so my noble intention. So, the only answer would be the language that we can give to this entire experience is that it was my noble my intention. Now he'll expand upon it probably.
जो कुछ भी रही है उसके साथ संयोग सदा सदा स्वीकारिता के साथ जुड़ता गया।
So whatever noble intentions I had, along with that, there has always been these serendipitous occurrences that have associated themselves with it, with my intention.
यही मेरा जो कुछ भी अभी तक की सार्थकता सफलता का कारण बनी हुई है।
And it is these that have been the cause of all the meaningfulness and all the success of all my efforts. So that was his noble intention and the serendipitous occurrences along with it.
मैं समझता हूँ हर मानव अपना सार्थकता और सफलता को अपने चाहत में तो बनाया ही रखा है।
As I understand it, each human being has their meaning. This being meaningful and successful is a desire that each human being maintains within themselves.
ये पुनः हम उसी जगह में पहुंचते हैं ये जो चाहत है नेक इरादे में तभी बनता है तो जहाँ कहीं भी हम समझदारी के साथ लेस रहते हैं।
And this desire only turns into a noble intention when we lace रहते हैं। क्या मतलब होता है? Associate और कुछ
Lace is मतलब with, like I'll give you another version. Lace is when हथियारों से lace, when
equipped.
Equipped, yeah.
हाँ. So this desire for meaningfulness and success that each human being holds, that turns into a noble intention only when it is equipped with understanding.
हमारा समझदारी ही नेक इरादा का पूरा स्रोत है।
So
इस स्रोत को हम कभी भी भुलावा नहीं दे सकते, ना हम इसके विपक्ष में अथवा उसका विरोध में कुछ हम सोच भी
Yeah, sorry, it stopped responding. So it is only our understanding that is the complete source of our noble intentions. It is a complete source of our noble intentions. And we can never, bhulawa dena is like to dismiss or ignore. We can never ignore this source. So it is a complete source of our noble intention, and it is not possible to think in opposition of this understanding or in contradiction to this understanding. And the reason behind that is because this goodness, this well-being that exists,
Rishta, what is happening?
what's happening? Did something change? Oh,
you talking.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize it stopped the share screen. Could you hear? Achha, of course, you couldn't hear also. Okay, let me go back.
नेक का मतलब है शुभ है अथवा उसका विरोध में कुछ स्रोत को हम कभी भी भुलावा नहीं दे सकते।
So we can never dismiss or ignore this source of noble intentions, and the source was our understanding. We can never ignore understanding.
ना हम इसके विपक्ष में अथवा उसका विरोध में कुछ हम सोच भी नहीं सकते।
Nor can we think of anything in opposition or in contradiction to it.
क्योंकि जो शुभ है, नेक का मतलब है शुभ है, शुभ जो है हर व्यक्ति के लिए स्वीकृत है।
Because whatever is good, and because noble means good, whatever is good is acceptable to every individual.
और स्वीकार के साथ ही हर इरादाएं अपने में प्रयत्न पूर्वक सार्थक होता हुआ हम स्वयं देखे हैं, आप भी देख सकेंगे और देखे भी होंगे।
And along with being acceptable, I have been able to see that each noble intention, I have been able to see each noble intention become meaningful and successful, and you will also be able to see the same. So, to sum it up, basically saying that I cannot ignore or think in contradiction to my understanding, because it is this understanding, which is the understanding of goodness. Goodness is acceptable to every single individual, and not just is it acceptable, but it is only goodness. And you see that when you think in line with goodness, those intentions are always successful. That is what he has been able to see for himself, and he's saying that we will also be able to see that.
मेरे अनुसार हर व्यक्ति शुभ चाहता ही है, शुभ घटित होने के लिए ही आप हम सब इंतजार कर रहे हैं।
According to me, each individual naturally desires goodness and well-being, and it is for this goodness or well-being that everyone is waiting.
इंतजार करते समय में हमारा संबंध के बारे में बात ना मुद्दा आती है। संबंध को हम पहचानना तभी संभव है, संबंधों में जो निहित मूल्य जिस प्रयोजन के लिए निहित है, वो प्रयोजन इन दो।
And while awaiting this goodness, this well-being, the question arises of our relationship. So all of us want this goodness, all of us await this well-being. But in the meanwhile, while we are waiting, what is our relationship? So what he's saying is that regarding recognizing relationships, this recognition can only happen when we understand the inherent values, that is, the inherent purpose of each relationship.
दोनों को पहचानना आवश्यक है, यही अध्ययन है।
So it is necessary to recognize these inherent value, this inherent value or this inherent purpose of each relationship, and that itself is our study.
प्रयोजन इन दोनों को पहचानना आवश्यक है, निहित है वो प्रयोजन इन दोनों को पहचानना तभी संभव है, संबंधों में जो निहित मूल्य जिस प्रयोजन के लिए निहित है, वो प्रयोजन इन दोनों को पहचानना आवश्यक है।
So it is necessary to recognize, to identify the inherent value of the inherent values of each relationship and the purpose for which those values are inherent in each relationship. So recognizing both of these is necessary.
यही अध्ययन है, अध्ययन पूर्वक यही पहचानने में आता है।
And it is this that we come to recognize through our study.
संबंध तभी पहचान में आता है।
अध्ययन mean? What does अध्ययन mean?
अध्ययन is study. अध्ययन किसी
yeah.
चीज का अध्ययन करना is to study something.
Yeah, okay.
अध्ययन पूर्वक यही पहचानने में आता है, संबंध तभी पहचान में आता है, उसमें निहित मूल्य और उसका प्रयोजन समझ में आने के बाद मनुष्य।
So it is this that we end up recognizing in relationships, its inherent values and its purpose. So for each relationship, what we recognize in it is the values that are inherent in that relationship and the purpose of that relationship, the purpose for which those values are inherent.
मूल्य और उसका प्रयोजन समझ में आने के बाद मनुष्य जो है ना स्वाभाविक है उसमें निष्ठान्वित होता ही है, निष्ठान्वित होने का फलस्वरूप मनुष्य जो है ना उसमें पारंगत होता है।
And upon understanding the purpose, the human being naturally becomes committed to it, and upon becoming committed to it, it is natural to to realize it. उसमें
दृष्टा-
पारंगत, to be accomplished in it. हाँ.
Drishtanvit is commitment.
Yeah, nishthanvit hona is, nishtha is commitment, nishthanvit is to be committed.
Got it.
So upon understanding purpose, we become committed to it, and upon becoming committed, we become accomplished in it. Parangat is not exactly accomplished. Parangat means to have arrived. So we arrive at living that relationship, basically.
पारंगत होने के बाद फलवती होता ही है। यही
Let me just see exactly how they define Parangat. Having crossed over, having reached, become an expert in. Yeah. So, upon becoming accomplished or expert in this relationship, then that naturally fruits. That naturally bears fruit.
मेरा इतने दिन की जो होने के बाद फलवती होता ही है। यही मेरा इतने दिन की जो कुछ भी हमने देख पाए हैं, इसी विधि से देख पाए हैं। मैं सोचता हूँ सफलता का विधि ये काफी सरल है।
And this is what I have been able to see over all these days. I mean, all my days. And it has been through this method that I have been able to see these results. And I believe that this is a very simple method towards achieving success.
देख पाए हैं। मैं सोचता हूँ सफलता का विधि ये काफी सरल है, इसमें कोई परेशानी नहीं।
And that there is no difficulty in this. So when he says that, upon understanding the purpose, we become committed to it. Upon becoming committed to it, we become an expert in it. We become accomplished in it. And upon becoming accomplished in relationships, that is able to bear fruit. So the question arises, then what is this bearing of fruit that he might be talking about? And so the fruit that bears is justice. The fruit of justice is mutual satisfaction, mutual fulfillment. So when you understand the relationship, that means when you understand its inherent values and its purpose, then you're able to commit yourself to that relationship. Because before that, when you didn't understand the purpose of the relationship, when you didn't understand the actual values involved, inherent in that purpose, then how would you be able to commit yourself to it? You would be committed to something else, maybe our own notion, our own idea of what that relationship is. But it is only on understanding what that relationship really is about that we can actually commit ourselves to that relationship truly. And then when we commit ourselves to it, naturally we will grow towards it and we will be able to accomplish living that out. And when we accomplish that, that means we will be able to live out those values, realize the purpose of that relationship, and that will lead to mutual fulfillment. So mutual fulfillment is the bearing of fruit.
So, Drishta, are there any criteria that, okay, these are the questions that you need to ask about each relation? This, okay, this is what, then put it in a box.
Yeah, so that's what he's saying. No, there are two things we need to ask. What is the purpose of that relationship? And then for that purpose, what are the values involved? So each relationship has a purpose. In order to achieve that purpose, it also has associated values. So what are these for
What do
each
you mean by
relationship?
values like mother? Say mother.
Yeah.
So mother.
The purpose of the mother relationship says nourishment, portion, right? So the values
That's for a period of time, like 5 years, 4 years, 3 years, 10 years, whatever. Then
that is the purpose of the mother relationship, nourishment.
when
Now,
that finishes, then
the
the
first
relationship.
in the first few months or years that the child is born, that nourishment is accomplished through maybe breast milk. After a few years, that nourishment is through, maybe you'll prepare the food for the child. Then after a few years, you'll also train the child to be able to prepare the food so that they're able to. So the mode of fulfilling that purpose might change, but the purpose remains the same. The actions might change.
Mother's relationship is supposed to be just nourishment, mainly.
Purpose is that, yeah. And then you have to understand
And
So
how
this-
does it decide this, that mother's purpose is nourishment?
So no one is deciding it, we are recognizing it. These are natural systems. These are like it is for everything else in nature, and everything has a purpose. And when we just start looking at it, when we start studying it, we recognize, oh, this was the purpose behind all of these other activities that were happening. That is why it was arranged this way. That is why it works this way. So, like when you look at a tree and you look at the shape of a leaf, say you look at the
अच्छा,
है ना,
ठीक
the
है.
cactus के पत्ते are different from a banyan tree के पत्ते. You'll be like, okay, we understand its shape, but what is the purpose of it being this way? What is the point? Then you go about understanding the inherent purpose. We are not deciding कि it needed to preserve water. Actually, that's not the purpose. It's a bit lower than purpose, but something similar. We're recognizing the value, the purpose that already existed by studying it. So similarly, when humans also, mothers have always existed and they will always exist. What is the purpose of a mother? That is to be studied. People have come up with different ideas and we have tried out different interpretations of what that purpose might be. Some ideas have been that there is no purpose. It doesn't matter. Everything is purposeless. These are just fancy notions in our own heads. So we can choose for ourselves. But there have been so many people, so many cultures that have come up with their own ideas. Actually, there's been a lot of, with mother at least, there's been a lot of convergence. Most cultures accept that at some level, the purpose of a mother is nourishment. That has been the easiest to recognize. So, that also indicates, if everyone is catching on to something, that means there's probably some truth to it. And what he's proposing here is what he has understood. So he has recognized that the purpose of a mother is nourishment, that the purpose of a father is protection, and then it begets the question: what is nourishment? What is protection? Because up till now, we even think of nourishment and protection only in terms of the body, right?
And the purpose can also get accomplished, done at some point, right? Like, let's say nourishment, and then I've made child capable of nourishing itself, and then that purpose is over. So that relationship can change, like how people grow up. Like, let's think of it in animals. In animals, after a certain point, once the child is an adult, uh, then they become more like equals and up like a group of people living together. In
Hmm.
means we still have the mother relationship, but what I mean is that now the definition mother ka jo purpose is, that is done at certain point, or she can still keep nourishing you at an emotional level and different level. That nourishment can keep on, but it can also take multiple facets. Like that relationship can grow into friendship and many more things, right? Once the
We do
nourishment.
say that. We say that because we don't understand either friendship or parent-child relationship. There will be friendliness, but a parent-child relationship is not the same as friendship, which is not the same as siblings, which is not the same as spouses, or not the same as colleagues. Even though they might have similarities in appearances and activities at times, those are just the superficial aspect, the visible aspect are the activities that are going on. So of course, sometimes your mother is feeding you, sometimes your friend is feeding you, sometimes your wife or husband is feeding you, sometimes your child is feeding you. But feeding is not fulfilling the purpose of nourishment. So that is why it's good to differentiate. How I understand it is to differentiate between purpose and activity. And purpose remains the same. So, if nourishment is the purpose, then the mother is always going to have this feeling of nurturing towards the child. So many parents say, no matter how old you become, even if my child is 60, I still feel like they are my child. They still have that feeling of nurture towards their child because they are still ahead of them. No? So that's how I imagine it. I know that so my understanding of this is also not complete. So this is my estimation. But I know as information at least that purpose is not going to change. The purpose remains steady and the activities will change. So how I understand that is that even if the child can now nourish themselves, they can, provide their own food or whatever, the general way that in which the mother will look at the child is the purpose with which the mother engages with the child is to ensure that they are nurtured, whether it is her who is doing the activity of food or whatever or not. Her concern will always be, no matter how old or young the child or she is, uh, around to ensure the nurturing of the child. You know, with friends, often that is not a concern. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. Even if it is not, even if my friend doesn't really think about my nourishment, it doesn't make me feel dissatisfied or insecure in my relationship with my friend. But if my mother at any point disregards or dismisses my nourishment, even if she has nothing to do with it actively, I will feel hurt. Ki, oh, she doesn't even care about my well-being in that sense anymore. So that is
So
how I am
let's say,
understanding it.
like more and more I see women, mothers are not, they call themselves non-foodie, and I'm not a foodie and I really don't care about the food and kitchen and all. So they don't really take that kind of interest and all in nourishing them. Of course, food is there in the house.
Hmm.
Okay. So, but those mothers sometimes are very successful because they spend the other type of quality time with the children, such as mentoring them, listening to their problems, having time for them. You know, so then things may have changed there also. Maybe just food is not enough because we are not, like we said, no, we have that,
Yeah.
you know, we're sentient and an animal
Yeah.
and consciousness.
Nourishment
Maybe,
and nurturing is not just the body, because we are not never just the body. We are always mind first and body next. So yeah, I mean, and also these mothers that you are describing, even if they're not preparing the food themselves, they will ensure that the child gets food. That is what the responsibility is. No, that the child is fed. It's not like wo chhod
okay.
denge ki
Hmm.
if that happens, then
Because,
the child will feel a bit
if we are left hungry, of course.
yeah, that's what. So yeah, it's not about the way in which it is achieved necessarily as much as what the purpose of that interaction is. And then we must understand what nourishment is, what nurturing is. You can't nourish a body, any body, however small it is. Even a baby, you can't nourish really when you are not keeping it happy, not keeping it in a good mental space. That child will not be able to even digest their milk properly, no matter how little they are.
Okay. That makes sense too. Okay. Thanks.
Okay, where are we?
का विधि ये
Oh
काफी
wait,
सरल है.
it's already 7:30. Uh, I think we can pause here then, since it's time already. This was a nice topic. This was a nice opening up of what it means to do justice and what are the actual steps of studying it and what it would be. He actually hasn't gone into explaining it here, all the values and all the relationships. They do come up. That's part of the syllabus. But he had given some examples earlier as a glimpse. Okay. Anything before we close?
Oh, you know what I said? I didn't know I was on mute.
Oh,
I said that after we finish this Ek Parichay, what will we do after this? Which one?
we can, there are lots of books, we can just move ahead.
ठीक है.
Although
Okay.
this is the easiest to translate like this, so this.
Acha. Okay.
But so many people have already come out with these translated books, and they're, like,
Can you give me, where can I find a list of them which are translated in English? Is it
yeah,
somewhere?
I'll send you the link. Yeah, it's on the website. If you search, in
Acha.
fact, even if on Google you search Madhyas dash darshan, you'll be directed to the
have it
website.
Okay, I'll do that. And these books are available in Amazon or somewhere or where?
No, not on Amazon. There's a
With your-
contact number. You call them and they'll post it to you. In Dehradun, I don't think abhi koi hai center. I can lend you our copies. But
हिंदी में इंग्लिश में रिश्ता
दोनों में
है
सारे
All
नहीं
17.
है, not all 17. So that's what on the website you will see which ones are works in progress, which ones are being done, which have been done. All of that is available.
Hmm.
So the first Manav Vyavahar
There
Darshan
is
has been translated. It was the first book to be translated. And I shared this link on the group, 2 links actually a while ago. So a lot of these books are like, they've been translated, first draft has been done, but the peer review is on, so it's not been published. But the people who have translated it, the first draft, they kind of share it, like we do these sessions, they share it with their translated versions on every Sunday morning. So they finished, Sanjeev uncle was taking Janvad, which he translated, and he took this session, Sunday morning session, for 2.5 years, and they just completed the book a while ago. Now
Like
they've
we are doing
started,
it this way. Hmm.
yeah, not this way,
Like the
because
way we do.
हम recording से कर रहे हैं, उनने तो translate करके, he's prepared one draft of the translation already. So he's got it written down. I'm just making it up just as we go. But he's actually written down his translation. He's put a lot of thought behind it.
And that can be that he's willing to share also.
He's
Yet,
sharing.
okay.
He's reading it with a group of people who turn up on the Zoom call, and
अभी
they're
भी
also
हो रहा है
sharing.
ये?
Her Sunday, every Sunday.
Even now?
Yeah,
Achha, it's not
yeah.
finished yet.
It's not over.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it'll take a long
Hmm.
time because it's just once a week, and the book is much thicker, so it'll take a while.
Hmm.
And there's a whole
Okay.
YouTube
It's got the
playlist
link
if you want to see the
below. A
old.
good link also, maybe for me at least. I might be able to see it also.
Yeah.
Achha, and then mm, their book is finishing now in a day or two, no? Or today, I think. Or
Parichay, yeah, 2 more.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Two more days or 2 more sessions or one?
2 more sessions, therefore 2 more
Acha.
days. So one
Ah.
session a day.
Yeah.
Manju ji, you attend Monday, Wednesday?
Yeah. 90% of the time.
Saturday, Wednesday. Yeah.
Yeah. I do.
Okay. So Drishta, we see each other on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I will inform you.
Okay.
I'm traveling a little. I'm not sure. We'll be coming back from Chakrata then. So I'll keep you in loop what is happening.
ठीक है.
All
Okay.
right. Okay. Bye.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.